Well, our chief political correspondent, David Brody, has joined us there. David, you give me your take of why you think the president made those comments, given the history between the two countries.
Well, Pat, a few things. First of all, this is the art of the deal run amok. It's gone off the rails. I mean, what he tried to do, obviously, is try to butter up Putin. You know, he's looking toward the future. He's playing the long game. He wants some victories. Remember, he talks about how you're going to be so sick of winning with me as president. And that was the whole Kim Jong-un situation as well. Remember, he came back from that meeting and said, solve that problem, let's move on. You know, this is what Donald Trump does. And so he's hoping with Vladimir Putin that he's going to get some victories in the long run. But in the middle of all of that, in the short term, he whiffed. I don't think there's any question about it. It was an unforced error, Pat. There was no reason for him to go on a international stage and say what he said. There were so many ways to get around that, to simply say, look, we're looking into it. Our Justice Department's on top of it. Whatever he wanted to say, he just wouldn't go there. And there's so many different reasons for it. But let's be honest, Pat, he does not trust certain folks in the intelligence community. He's been burned by Comey, Peter Strzok and Lisa Page we know about. We can go on and on. He's still angry at Jeff Sessions. I mean, the bottom line is that he does have some concerns about what has happened to him in the intelligence community, and that has just rubbed him the wrong way, and he just can't let it go.
Well, you know, Newt Gingrich, who's on the team, says it's the most serious mistake of his presidency. Do you think there's some way he's going to fix it, or is this fixable?
Well, I think this would be a great time for him to apologize, but laugh, laugh, laugh. That's not going to happen. We know that he's not going to do that. As a matter of fact, even early this morning, he's up and at 'em after about 2 or 3 or 4 hours of sleep, and he's already on Twitter thanking Rand Paul, one of his supporters in Congress, for basically coming to his defense, saying that Rand Paul gets it. And what Rand Paul is talking about is this idea that why should Trump trust a lot of folks in that intelligence community when they've had it in for him and they have this bias against him? And so this is what Donald Trump is going to do. And I think I see a double down strategy here, Pat. But I can tell you this, that Newt Gingrich seemed to be pretty spot on. If you're getting criticism from Newt Gingrich, that's a problem. That's something you got to deal with.
Well, you know, the thing of it is, when you're a president, you surround yourself with advisors, and they go over word for word what's got to be said, exactly the scenario. You war game the situation. I don't think Trump does any of that, does he?
No, and some of the criticism he's getting is that while Vladimir Putin was preparing for the summit, Donald Trump was golfing in Scotland for a couple of days, and that might be a little bit unfair criticism. But the point is that Trump likes to, you know, go with his gut and feel the instinct and work the room and all of that. But when you're on the international stage and you come up with this idea of both countries are responsible, and those were his words, that's a direct quote, both countries are responsible. Look, I understand what he was saying. He's talking about the intelligence community and some in the intelligence community. But it is very hard to use the moral equivalency argument on an international stage when Barack Obama was accused for a lot of the same things. I know it was a different context. The good news for Donald Trump is that he's branded himself as a Make America First guy. I think he's been pretty solid in that area, obviously, whereas Barack Obama had that branded image as the apologist, in chief. And I think that may help mitigate some of this damage right now, Pat.
You know, we have to ask ourselves, where did Putin come from? He was KGB, but he's a colonel. And the next thing you know, Boris Yeltsin is stumbling around half drunk all the time. And Putin emerges from that milieu to become the undisputed dictator of Russia. He is very rich. He has enriched his buddies. He has put down dissent. I mean, it's a pattern of unbelievable mendacity. And why in the world doesn't somebody warn the president what he's getting into?
Well, I think many people have warned the president of what he's getting into, but Donald Trump does what Donald Trump wants to do, and I think he's attracted to that strong man quality of Vladimir Putin. He said some things along those similar lines about Kim Jong-un, who we know is a ruthless dictator. And so you can go on and on. Look, this is part of the, as you know, Pat, you take the whole package with Donald Trump. He can be good on 70, 80% of what you like. And then, boy, 20% you look at it and go, my goodness, does that smell over there in the corner? And this was a smelly moment. Rather than Helsinki, maybe it's Helstinky for President Trump, because that's what it felt like for sure the other day.
We understand former CIA Director John Brennan, because he's not exactly Trump's friend, but he says Trump's statement is an impeachable offense. That, of course, is over the top, isn't it?
Well, it sure is over the top. And here's the danger for Democrats and liberals. Here they go again, as Ronald Reagan would say. They may overplay their hand. And if they're going to start talking treason, remember before it was like, they talked about impeachment, and everybody was like, oh, no, that's good. Democrats have gone too far. Well, if they start talking about treason, here they go again. They're going far left on the treason factor, and that could alienate them from midterm election voters. And once again, I think right now what the best strategy really for Democrats and liberals is let it play out organically. I mean, Donald Trump did not have his best day as president for sure in Helsinki. Let it travel organically, and don't step in a pile of you know what, because that's exactly what Democrats could do right now if they decide to overplay their hand. And by the way, speaking of overplaying their hand, the media, Pat, the media has gone off the rails on this. And once again, this plays right into Donald Trump's hands. If the media starts to really get on Donald Trump's case so much, boy, that just makes Donald Trump even stronger.